Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. There has been so many of you asking me to review the Technics EAH-AZ60 that I recently went ahead and bought a set for myself for testing, and today I can finally share my thoughts with you. We get all the bells and whistles with these buds, which means there is a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. Starting with the design, I kind of love and hate the AZ60 at the same time. First, the love. I love how they look. The two-tone black/gunmetal finish along with the circular aluminium touchpads look sleek and sharp. The buds also come in a white-silver combo if that's what you prefer, but regardless of color, the whole thing reminds me of the Sennheiser Momentum 2s, which have been a favorite of mine in terms of design for a long time. Build quality is excellent and we get an IPX4 rating as well, which is not the waterproof category, but it can give us some confidence when it comes to dealing with splashes and sweating. So far, so good. But the comfort and the fit of the earbuds are far from ideal, at least in my case, in my ears. Even though there are 7 sets of silicone ear tips in the box, I could not make the fit secure enough for workouts or running. It is tight enough for casual activities such as walking around in town or commuting, but I don't think these earbuds should be used in the gym, but again, that's just me. The other thing is that the buds are not the most comfortable to wear. I mean that there is that little bump at the top of the acoustic chamber, which can cause some discomfort straight away when I pop the AZ60 in my ears. Most earbuds have either no bump at all, or even if they have one, it's usually rounded off. But not the AZ60. It has this big bump with a sharp edge, and that's the source of all my issues, I believe. It's not the size or the weight of the buds for sure, because the AZ60 are only medium-sized and weigh in at around 6.2 grams each, which is roughly the same as the Sennheisers, but it's much lighter than the Sony WF-1000X Mark IV, the Bose QC earbuds, or the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro, all of which I consider to be direct competitors of the Technics buds. And back to their comfort for a second, strangely enough my ears can kind of get used to the AZ60 after a while, and it makes wearing them less of a problem in the long run, but still, it's not the most pleasant experience I've ever had. Again, I'm only talking about my ears. And since I brought up the competition, they each have a larger but better built case than the one we get with the AZ60. It's made from cheap plastic and the build quality is below average for its price, I'm afraid. At least the lid comes with a solid enough hinge to stop it from flapping around when fully open. However, it has quite a bit of play when closed, but that's not the end of the world. The lack of wireless charging, on the other hand, could be a deal breaker for some at this price point, which is around $230 or euros. Both the Sony and the Soundcore can be charged wirelessly, however, to be fair, the Sennheiser and the Bose do not support the Qi wireless standard either. But they are older models, and these days one would expect to get such feature in this price range. All we get is a good old USB Type-C port on the back of the case. But moving on to the battery life, Technics did something that not many manufacturers do, as they gave us real playback times with not only ANC turned on and off, but we also get one set of data for the LDAC audio codec and another one for AAC. We all know how much the use of different audio codecs can affect battery life, but manufacturers tend to publish best case scenarios only to make their buds look as good as possible, but as you can see, in real life battery usage can vary greatly depending on multiple factors. 50 minutes of quick charge can give you 45 to 80 minutes of use, again depending on your settings. The battery life in itself is not that impressive at all, but I appreciate what Technics is trying to do here with publishing real, usable data, and I only hope that others will follow suit. Another thing most of you will probably appreciate too is what Technics put together here as far as the wireless connection and related features go. We have Bluetooth 5.2 on board, along with the SBC, the AAC and the LDAC audio codecs. LDAC is a higher bitrate codec which can give you better sound quality, but as you could see it drains the battery much faster and using it has other downsides too. First, you have to find the proper settings to make sure your media playback will be as smooth as possible, as with the wrong settings, your audio can break up from time to time, but thankfully you have plenty options to tweak the connection settings using the Technics Audio Connect app on Android. iOS is not compatible with LDAC, so iPhone users are out of luck here. The AZ60 also supports multi-point use, which means that you can connect to two devices at the same time, and it works across all platforms, so iPhone users are back in the game along with Windows and macOS. But, and here comes the second issue with LDAC, in order to actually use it, you will have to disable LDAC first. So you get both LDAC and multipoint use with the Technics EAH-AZ60, but you cannot use them at the same time. This is due to some sort of a bandwidth limitation of Bluetooth itself, and all LDAC-capable headphones suffer from this issue, including the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro, which is the only other set of true wireless earbuds that can offer both LDAC and multipoint that I'm aware of. So the limitation is not unique to the AZ60, and other than that, multipoint works great. Switching between your phone and computer or between your two phones is smooth and happens automatically. Each earbud can be used on its own in single mode, and latency is a non-issue with movies or games, especially in low latency mode, which is called suppress sound delay and can be enabled in the app.
The AZ60 stands out from the crowd with its 8 microphone setup, which means 4 mics on each butt for clear phone calls. As you can hear me talking through the mics in a quiet room, my voice sounds natural, full-bodied, and apart from my accent, it's very easy to understand. The Just My Voice noise filtering technology kicks in as soon as I turn on some loud background chatter, simulating a noisy environment such as a coffee shop. My voice remains clear and easy to understand, while the ambient noise gets blocked out almost completely.
The touch controls work like a charm. We get snappy reaction times with full functionality and a great app where you can fully configure what the single, double and triple tap action should do on each bud. The tap and hold action is limited to be used for switching between ambient modes or activating your voice assistant. But you can further customize the behavior of the ambient mode switch in a separate menu, and you can also select Alexa as your preferred voice assistant over Siri or the Google Assistant, depending on whether you use iOS or Android. On top of all that, you can even change noise filtering levels during phone calls using the touch controls. And the Technics Audio Connect app offers you a wide selection of settings and features as well. There is an EQ with multiple presets and custom settings. The presets cannot be fine-tuned manually, and you can only have one custom sound profile at a time, but that should be enough for most people. There are different settings for the active noise cancelling, but more about it in a second. We get a Find My Earphones feature, where you can use either a beeping sound to help locate your buds, or do the same based on GPS data. Most apps offer you one or the other, so that's great that we have both options here. In the app you can play around with the connection settings, including LDAC, multipoint and latency. You can turn off the Bluetooth status LED on the earbuds, you get an auto power off timer as well, and we can set up background noise reduction for the incoming signal during phone calls. What we don't have is infrared sensors for autoplay pause, but other than the lack of smart playback and the related settings, we get complete control over our earbuds between the touch controls, which have a great level of customization, and the smartphone app, which is easy to use, packed with options and neatly organized. And we have barely touched upon the dual hybrid noise cancelling feature so far. Now there are 3 modes as usual: ANC on, ANC off and ambient sound. We can adjust the intensity of the ambient mode on a slider from 0 to 100, and also we can choose between transparent and attention modes. Transparent mode lets in all surrounding noises and it won't pause music playback, but attention mode on the other hand will focus on human voices while pausing audio at the same time, which makes having a conversation easier. We get the same 0 to 100 slider for the ANC mode as well, but there is also another slider in the settings where we can customize the ANC to our hearing and the environment we are in. The ANC balances differently between low and high-pitch noises depending on how you set up this slider. I found the middle setting to be the best in general, but again, you can always change it according to the surrounding noise. The only caveat is that every time you change this setting, the earbuds need to reconnect to your phone, which can take a couple of seconds. Not sure why we cannot just save the preferred setting without having to restart the buds. But after setting it up, the active noise cancellation works great. Traffic noise, airplane cabin noise or ambient chatter can be kept pretty well under control. Compared to the Sennheiser Momentum 2s, the AZ60 can block out more low-frequency hums and rumbles, and they are a touch more effective at suppressing high-pitch noises too. In comparison to the Liberty 3 Pro, the AZ60 wins again by just a hair, as it can handle all sorts of ambient noises better than the Soundcore buds. However, both the Sony WF-1000X Mark IV and the Bose QC earbuds can outperform the AZ60 in terms of blocking out the world around you. But the differences are not that dramatic at all. And changing the custom settings in the Technics app might give you better noise cancelling performance at certain frequency ranges, beating either the Sony or the Bose in some scenarios, but in general, at what I found to be the most balanced setting, the ANC on the AZ60 is still half a step behind the best of the best. As far as the transparency mode goes, the Momentum 2 sounds more intense, but more natural too. The Liberty 3 Pro is a bit less intense than the AZ60 in fully transparent mode. However, in attention mode, the AZ60 gets a bit too harsh with ear-piercing highs, while the Soundcore buds remain more balanced in vocal mode, even though audio playback will not pause when it's activated like it does on the AZ60. I prefer using the Aware mode on the Bose QC buds as it sounds more natural, and the same applies to the Sony XM4. Where the Technics AZ60 can really shine, however, is wind noise performance, as based on my tests, I found it the best of them all when it comes to handling some light sea breeze and stronger gusts as well. But while the AZ60 performed really well in my ANC tests, swapping the buds in and out of my ears just confirmed that the Technics buds are the least comfortable to use out of all these earbuds, except for maybe the 1000X Mark IV, which is almost as bad as the AZ60. Okay, now let's talk about what sound the single 8mm dynamic drivers can pump out from these beauties. We get a very well balanced sound, all frequencies come through in synergy with each other without competing for your attention. Everything is in the right place across the whole frequency range. I heard earbuds with more energy in the lower registers, and the bass could be a bit more punchy, but I prefer clear vocals and detailed instruments over an abundant amount of low-end energy. And clear vocals we get from the AZ60 for sure. And there are loads of details on offer here in the treble too, but we don't need to worry about sharp edges and sibilance either, as everything sounds smooth at normal listening levels. I could imagine a wider soundstage and a bit more pinpoint imaging as well, but the AZ60 does a decent job with both. It's only that there are other buds that can do better than that. Have a look at the Bose QC earbuds, for example, which can deliver slightly less bass, but we get a more open sound and a more three-dimensional presentation. Quickly comparing the sound to that of the Sennheisers, the Momentum 2s are ever so slightly warmer and darker sounding. The AZ60 are a touch more open with a leaner bass, but they can offer more energy in the mids and slightly more details in the highs. I love them both, and with a bit of an EQing you can make them sound very similar to each other. Onto the Liberty 3 Pro, we get a more boomy bass from those buds at the expense of vocal clarity, and we also get more sibilance in the higher registers with the Soundcore, so the AZ60 is my clear choice here for acoustic music, but maybe the Liberty 3 Pro works better with bass-heavy electronic or R&B songs. The Sony XM4 delivers a similar sonic signature with maybe a slightly more bass, but the biggest difference between the two buds is that the Sony feels more rhythmically confident and more dynamic in general. And the lack of space and air in the sound of the AZ60 becomes more obvious again, as the XM4 paints a bigger picture with better separated instruments. So there is a lot to love about the sound of the Technics buds, from the lean bass through the clear vocals all the way to the detailed highs, but there are other buds that can outperform them in terms of dynamics, rhythm and spaciousness. And now let me try to sum up everything we just talked about in the last 15 minutes or so. I have to say that I understand why so many of you wanted this review. It's simply because the Technics EAH-AZ60 are great earbuds. If I put away my own comfort-related issues, then there is not much else left that I could bring up as a negative. Maybe the lack of wireless charging or the omission of the inner sensors fall into that category. So if any of these ranked high on your list of preferences, then you might want to avoid the AZ60. The battery life is not the best either, as it only delivers an average performance, and the case itself could be made of higher quality materials too. But everything else, such as the build quality and the design of the buds themselves, the noise cancelling performance, the controls, the app, the customization, the multi-point support, the LDAC codec, and probably most importantly, the sound quality, are all top of the class, or at least near to the top. In terms of pricing, they are right in between the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro and the Sony WF-1000X Mark IV, which are two earbuds with a very similar set of features, and these days you can get the Bose QC earbuds and the Sennheiser Momentum 2s for around the same price too. There are many other earbuds I did not even mention in this review, so to make it short, the competition is fierce. But if you want a set of good-looking, good-sounding, I can do it all and I can do it well kind of earbuds, the Technics EAH-AZ60 deserve a spot high up on your shopping list. However, I started this wrap-up by ignoring the fact that I have some issues with the comfort of the earbuds, so I personally cannot really recommend them, even if I know that not everyone is going to have the same problem, and in fact, after checking out some other reviews, most people find the AZ60 comfortable, so yeah, let's just leave it at that. And this was my review of the Technics EAH-AZ60. I have to thank you again for pushing me towards making this video, and I only hope you got what you came here for. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can carry on the discussion in the comments, so feel free to share your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, see you next time.